Love you too. Just watching movies with Megan. That's what I texted him. The kind of lie that feels so small in the moment, you convince yourself it doesn't count. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror that night, adjusting the straps of my gold dress. The one Tyler bought me for our anniversary last year. The ring lights cast a glow on my face as I swiped on lipstick, red bold, nothing like the soft pink I wore around him. My phone buzzed on the marble counter. Tyler's name lit up the screen. Have fun tonight, babe. Love you. I smiled at my reflection as I typed back, adding a heart emoji for good measure before setting the phone face down. That's the thing about Tyler. He's steady, reliable, the kind of man who trusts without question. He doesn't check up on me or demand to see my location. He just believes me. But I wasn't going to watch movies with Megan. I was going to see Kevin. Kevin was different. He'd started as someone I met at a friend's rooftop party 3 months ago. Someone who made me laugh when Tyler's work schedule left me alone most nights. Someone who texted me good morning before Tyler even woke up. But over time, those texts turned into late-night calls, calls into secret coffee dates, and coffee dates into something I couldn't name anymore. That night wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was supposed to be one of those reckless moments you bury deep enough that they stop feeling real. The restaurant was upscale, tucked away on a quieter part of the strip where Tyler never went. Kevin was already there, leaning against the host stand in a black button-down that fit him too well. "You look amazing," he said, his hand finding the small of my back as he guided me to our table. His touch lingered a second too long. "Thanks," I murmured, glancing around. "I can't stay too long." He laughed softly, pulling out my chair. "You always say that." We ordered champagne, fell into easy conversation that danced around everything we didn't want to admit. The guilt, the excitement, the quiet rush of being somewhere I shouldn't be. But even as he spoke, my phone buzzed in my clutch. Tyler's name appeared again. "How's the movie? Miss you." I froze. My fingers hovered over the screen. "So good." "Megan says hi," I typed back quickly. It was automatic, the lies rolling off my fingertips like muscle memory. I set my phone face down on the white tablecloth, trying to focus on Kevin's voice, but my pulse was racing. Halfway through dinner, Kevin leaned closer. "There's this club I know. Apex. My boy manages it. Got us a VIP table tonight." His eyes challenged me. "You'll love it." I hesitated. "Kevin, that's too risky." He grinned, reaching for my hand across the table. "You think your man's gonna walk into a club on a Thursday night? Come on, Jazz. Live a little." I exhaled, and against every instinct screaming at me to go home, I followed him. Apex was everything Tyler wasn't. Pulsing bass, neon lights cutting through the darkness, bodies moving like they had no tomorrow. Kevin led me past the line, past security who nodded at him like royalty, up the stairs to a VIP section overlooking the main floor. Velvet ropes. Bottles already waiting. Bartenders who knew his name. For a while, I forgot the world outside those walls existed. We drank, we laughed. We moved closer as the music drowned out everything else. His hands found my waist. I let them stay there. The guilt was still present, but the champagne and the lights made it easier to ignore. But then it happened. The music shifted. A voice from the bar below cut through the noise. Deep and familiar. My entire body went cold before I even turned my head. No, it couldn't be. But it was. Tyler, standing by the main bar, holding his phone. Wearing the same jeans and hoodie he'd had on when I kissed him goodbye. His eyes swept the crowd, searching, until they locked onto mine. The moment froze. The music kept pounding, but all I could hear was my heartbeat in my ears. He didn't look angry. He didn't look shocked. He just looked at me. Steady. Silent. Heartbroken. I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled as I reached for my glass, trying to look casual, but Kevin noticed instantly. "Yo, you good?" he asked, leaning in close. I couldn't answer. 3 months ago, I didn't know Kevin Warrington existed. Then Megan dragged me to a rooftop birthday party for someone from her yoga class, and everything shifted. Tyler was supposed to come with me. He'd promised. But an hour before we were set to leave, his phone rang. Work emergency. Server crash. He'd be at the office all night. I could see the apology in his eyes as he kissed my forehead and grabbed his laptop bag. That was Tyler, dependable, responsible, always choosing duty over everything else. So I went alone. The party was on the 32nd floor of a high-rise downtown, string lights wrapped around every surface, the Vegas skyline glittering in the distance. I nursed a glass of wine in the corner, checking my phone every few minutes for updates from Tyler that never came. That's when Kevin appeared beside me, holding 2 champagne flutes. "You look like you need an upgrade," he said, handing me one without waiting for an answer. His confidence was immediate, effortless. The kind that made you feel like saying no would be a mistake. "Bold assumption," I said, but I took the glass. He smiled. "Wide, easy, dangerous." "I'm Kevin. And you're too beautiful to be standing here alone." We talked for an hour. He worked in real estate, flipped properties across the city, traveled whenever he felt like it. He asked questions like he actually cared about the answers. Where Tyler's conversations had become routine check-ins about groceries and bills, Kevin wanted to know what made me feel alive. What I dreamed about. What I'd do if nothing was holding me back. When the party ended, he walked me to my car. "We should do this again," he said, his hand brushing mine. "Coffee. No pressure." I should have said no. I should have driven home and forgotten his number. But when his text came the next morning, "Good morning, beautiful. Coffee this week." I stared at it for 10 minutes before typing back. "Sure. Wednesday work." Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into late afternoon walks through parks Tyler never had time to visit. Kevin had this way of making me feel seen, like I wasn't just someone's girlfriend running errands and waiting for attention. He remembered details. He texted me random thoughts throughout the day. He made me laugh in ways I'd forgotten I could. The first time he kissed me was in a parking garage after one of those lunches. I'd walked him to his car, and he turned to me, his hand cupping my face like I was something precious. "I've wanted to do this for weeks," he whispered. I should have pulled away. I should have told him about Tyler, about the life I'd built, about the promises I'd made. But his lips were on mine before I could think, and for those few seconds, I wasn't Tyler's girlfriend with a predictable routine. I was just Jasmine. Wanted. Alive. After that, it became easier. The lies came smoother. The guilt became something I could compartmentalize, a background noise I learned to tune out. Kevin was chaos where Tyler was order. Passion where Tyler was comfort. Risk where Tyler was safety. I told myself it was temporary. A phase. Something I'd end before it meant anything real. But the truth was, I didn't want it to end. Tyler gave me stability, but Kevin made me feel like I was worth chasing. And somewhere along the way, I convinced myself I deserved both. I was wrong. The restaurant was called Lumiere, one of those places with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the strip, where the prices weren't listed on the menu and everyone looked like they had somewhere more important to be. Kevin had chosen it specifically because Tyler would never set foot in a place like this. Too expensive. Too flashy. Too much. I spotted Kevin at a corner table before the hostess could lead me over. He stood when he saw me, his eyes traveling the length of my gold dress in a way that made my skin flush. The champagne was already chilling in a bucket beside the table, 2 flutes poured and waiting. "You're stunning," he said, pulling out my chair. His hand grazed my bare shoulder as I sat, lingering just long enough to send a shiver down my spine. "You didn't have to do all this," I said, gesturing to the champagne, the roses in the center of the table, the careful orchestration of it all. He slid into the seat beside me instead of across from me, close enough that our knees touched under the white tablecloth. "I wanted to. You deserve to be treated like this." There it was again. That phrase that always made me feel justified. Like I was somehow owed this attention, this excitement, because Tyler had gotten too comfortable. Because he'd stopped trying. Because I'd become invisible in my own relationship. Kevin's hand found my thigh under the table as the waiter appeared to take our order. His touch was warm, possessive, a silent claim that sent my heart racing. I tried to focus on the menu, but the words blurred together. All I could feel was the weight of his palm, the heat radiating through the thin fabric of my dress. We ordered without me registering what I'd chosen. Kevin kept talking, his voice smooth and easy, telling me about a property deal he'd closed that afternoon, about a trip to Miami he was planning next month. "You should come with me," he said, his thumb tracing circles on my leg. "Just you and me. No schedules. No obligations." I smiled, took a sip of champagne, let the bubbles numb the guilt creeping up my throat. This is the last time, I told myself. The same lie I'd been telling myself for 3 months. After tonight, I'd end it. I'd go back to Tyler, focus on fixing what we had, stop chasing something that was never meant to be mine. But even as I thought it, I knew it wasn't true. The food arrived, but I barely tasted it. Kevin ordered a second bottle of champagne, and the world started to soften around the edges. The guilt became quieter. The doubt became easier to ignore. His hand moved higher on my thigh, and I didn't stop him. "I've been thinking about you all day," he said, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "About tonight. About what comes after dinner." My pulse quickened. "Kevin, I told you I can't stay out too late. Tyler thinks I'm with Megan." He leaned closer, his lips nearly brushing my ear. "Then let's make the time count." I should have pulled away. Should have called for the check, made an excuse, driven home before this went any further. But his cologne was intoxicating, his confidence magnetic, and the version of myself I became around him wasn't the same woman who played it safe with Tyler. Halfway through the meal, Kevin's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and grinned. "My boy Jace just texted. He's the manager at Apex, that club I told you about. He's got a VIP section reserved for us tonight. Private table, bottle service, the works." My stomach tightened. A club? "Kevin, that's risky. What if someone sees us?" He laughed, that easy, reckless sound that always disarmed me. "Baby, it's Thursday night in Vegas. Your man's probably asleep on the couch by now. And even if he wasn't, you think he's gonna roll up to a place like Apex? Come on." He had a point. Tyler hated clubs. Hated crowds, loud music, the whole scene. He was a stay-home-and-watch-the-game kind of guy. The chances of him showing up at an upscale nightclub were non-existent. Still, something twisted in my chest. A warning I chose to ignore. "I don't know," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Kevin's hand tightened on my thigh. "Live a little, Jazz. When's the last time you did something just because it felt good? When's the last time you felt like this? He was right. When was the last time Tyler made me feel desired? Made me feel like I was worth pursuing? Made me feel anything other than comfortable? I drained my champagne glass and set it down with more force than necessary. Fine. One drink. Then I'm going home. Kevin smiled like he'd already won. One drink. I promise. We both knew it was another lie. But this time, I was lying to myself. My phone buzzed just as the waiter cleared our plates. The vibration cut through the champagne haze, sharp and insistent. I pulled it from my clutch, and Tyler's name glowed on the screen like an accusation. How's the movie? Miss you. My throat tightened. For a split second, the restaurant came into sharp focus. The expensive wine, Kevin's hand still resting possessively on my thigh, the gold dress I had no business wearing to a girl's night. The weight of what I was doing crashed over me like a wave. Kevin noticed immediately. He always did. Let me guess, he said, that amused smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. The boyfriend checking in? I didn't answer. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly. 3 dots appeared on Tyler's end, then disappeared. He was waiting, trusting, believing every word I'd told him. So good. Megan says hi, I typed, my heart hammering against my ribs. I added a smiley face, then deleted it. Too eager. Too fake. I left it simple and hit send before I could second-guess myself. Kevin laughed softly, shaking his head. You're really good at that. At what? I asked, setting the phone face down on the table like I could make it disappear. Lying. You don't even hesitate anymore. His words should have stung. Should have made me defensive. But instead, they settled over me like an uncomfortable truth I'd been avoiding. He was right. The lies had become automatic, effortless. I'd crossed so many lines that I'd stopped seeing them altogether. My phone buzzed again. Tyler's response came through almost immediately. Just the heart emoji. Simple. Trusting. Destroying me in ways he'd never know. Kevin signaled for the check, but my mind was elsewhere. I kept seeing Tyler on our couch, probably in his worn gray sweatpants, a bowl of reheated leftovers balanced on his lap while he watched whatever game was on. He'd texted me during a commercial break, thinking about me, missing me, completely unaware that I was across town with another man's hand on my leg. You all right? Kevin asked, his voice pulling me back. Fine, I said, but the champagne buzz was fading, replaced by something heavier. Guilt. Shame. The sick realization that I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. You sure? Because you look like you're about to bolt. I forced a smile. I'm sure. Just need to use the restroom. I grabbed my clutch and made my way through the restaurant, past tables of couples laughing and clinking glasses, oblivious to the woman walking by them whose entire life was built on lies. The bathroom was pristine, all marble and gold fixtures, the kind of place designed to make you feel expensive. I stared at my reflection under the harsh lighting. The red lipstick. The carefully curled hair. The gold dress that clung to every curve. I looked like someone Tyler wouldn't recognize. Someone I barely recognized. My phone buzzed again in my hand. For a moment, panic seized me. What if Tyler had called Megan? What if he'd driven by her apartment and seen my car wasn't there? What if this was all unraveling right now? But it was just Kevin. You fall in? We've got a table waiting at Apex. I exhaled slowly, my hands gripping the edge of the sink. I could leave right now. Tell Kevin I wasn't feeling well, drive home, slip into bed beside Tyler, and pretend this night never happened. I could still salvage this. Still go back to being the woman Tyler thought I was. But then I thought about the way Kevin looked at me. The way he made me feel seen, desired, alive. The way Tyler hadn't planned a date night in months, hadn't surprised me with anything, hadn't made me feel like I was worth the effort. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera. The lighting in the bathroom was soft, flattering. I angled the phone, made sure the restaurant's name wasn't visible in the background, and snapped a selfie. I looked relaxed, happy, believable. I opened my text thread with Tyler and attached the photo. Snack break with Megan. Love you, I typed beneath it. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it. The point of no return. Once I sent this, I wasn't just lying with words anymore. I was manufacturing evidence. Building an entire false reality. I hit send. The message delivered instantly. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Then Tyler's response, "You look beautiful. Have fun, baby." I stared at those words until they blurred. He didn't question the photo. Didn't ask why I was so dressed up for a movie night. Didn't notice the lipstick or the dress or the champagne flush on my cheeks. He just believed me. Because that's what Tyler did. He trusted the people he loved. And I was destroying him for it. I walked back to the table where Kevin was waiting, card already signed, ready to take me to the next location. The lie had deepened, expanded, become something I could no longer control. "Ready?" Kevin asked, standing and offering his hand. I took it. Apex rose from the strip like a temple to excess. 3 stories of glass and steel, the base so heavy you could feel it vibrating through the sidewalk before you even reached the entrance. A line stretched down the block, women in bodycon dresses and stilettos, men in designer shirts, everyone hoping to get past the velvet ropes that separated the worthy from the wanting. Kevin walked past all of them. The bouncer, a mountain of a man with arms like tree trunks, nodded at Kevin before we even reached the door. "Mr. Warrington, Jace has your table ready upstairs." No ID check. No waiting. Just a subtle gesture and the rope unhooked, swinging open like we owned the place. I felt eyes on us as we walked through, heard the whispers of people who'd been waiting for hours. Kevin's hand pressed against the small of my back, guiding me forward with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. Inside, the club was a living thing. Bodies moved in waves across the main floor, hands in the air, faces tilted toward the DJ booth where lights exploded in time with the music. The bass pounded through my chest, rattling my ribs, drowning out every rational thought I'd had in the restaurant. This wasn't Tyler's world. This was chaos and heat and beautiful, reckless abandon. Kevin led me up a spiral staircase to the 2nd level, then the 3rd, each floor more exclusive than the last. The VIP section was shrouded in velvet curtains, private tables arranged in a horseshoe around a balcony that overlooked the main dance floor below. The music was just as loud up here, but the space felt insulated, protected, like we'd ascended to another realm entirely. Kevin. A tall man in a fitted black suit appeared, arms spread wide. "My brother. Right this way." Jace Remington, the manager Kevin had mentioned. He moved like someone who controlled everything he touched, shaking Kevin's hand before his eyes slid to me, appraising but respectful. "This must be the beautiful Jasmine I've heard about," Jace said, gesturing toward a curved booth with a perfect view of the chaos below. "Best table in the house. Enjoy yourselves." We hadn't even sat down before a waitress appeared with 2 bottles of premium vodka, mixers, champagne, glasses arranged on the table like an altar. Kevin hadn't ordered any of it. It simply appeared, as if the club itself anticipated his needs. "You come here a lot," I said, sliding into the booth. It wasn't a question. Kevin poured us both drinks, his movements practiced, easy. I invest in the place. Jace and I go way back. Of course he did. Kevin didn't just exist in spaces. He owned them, shaped them, made them bend to his will. It was intoxicating, being near someone so effortlessly in control. He handed me a glass, our fingers brushing. To tonight, he said, raising his drink. To living. I clinked my glass against his and drank. The vodka burned going down, sharp and clarifying, then melted into warmth that spread through my limbs. Below us, the dance floor pulsed with color, pink, blue, green, strobing white, hundreds of bodies moving as one organism. Kevin's arm draped across the back of the booth, his fingers playing with a strand of my hair. The music shifted, something slower, heavier, bass-driven. He leaned close, his lips brushing my ear. Dance with me. I shouldn't have. I should have stayed in the booth, kept some distance, maintained some semblance of boundaries. But the vodka was warm in my veins, the music was hypnotic, and Tyler felt like a memory from another lifetime. We moved to a small platform near the balcony's edge, elevated just enough to feel like we were floating above the chaos. Kevin's hands found my waist, pulling me close. I let myself melt into the rhythm, into the heat of his body against mine, into the fantasy that this was my real life. The lights painted us in color, purple, then gold, then red. Kevin's face was inches from mine, his eyes locked on me like I was the only person in the entire club. His hands slid lower, resting on my hips, moving me in time with the music. "You're incredible," he said, and I believed him. In that moment, I wasn't Tyler's girlfriend who coordinated social media posts and meal prepped on Sundays. I wasn't the woman who felt invisible in her own relationship. I was just Jasmine, desired, alive, free. I tilted my head back, losing myself in the sensation. The music was deafening. The lights were kaleidoscopic. Kevin's hands were everywhere. And for the first time in months, I felt like I mattered. Tyler didn't exist here. Our apartment, our routines, our quiet life, none of it existed. There was only this, the pounding bass, the electric touch, the dangerous thrill of being wanted. I should have known. Moments like this don't last. They can't. Because eventually, the lights come up, the music stops, and reality comes crashing back. But I didn't know that yet. So I kept dancing, kept pretending, kept lying to myself that this wouldn't cost me everything. Megan stared at her phone for the 17th time in an hour, Jasmine's contact photo mocking her from the screen. 4 missed calls. 6 unanswered texts. The last one sent 20 minutes ago. "Jazz, please call me. We need to talk. This isn't right." She sat on her living room couch, the same couch where Jasmine had posed for that fake selfie just hours earlier. The memory made Megan's stomach turn. She'd watched her best friend arrange herself on the cushions, adjust the lighting, angle the phone just right to make it look natural. "Just one picture," Jasmine had said, applying lipstick in Megan's bathroom mirror. "That's all I need. Tyler won't question it." Megan had wanted to say no. Should have said no. But Jasmine had this way of making everything sound reasonable, temporary, harmless. "It's just a photo, Meg. You're not lying to him, I am. You're just letting me use your apartment for 5 minutes." But that's how it always started with Jasmine. Small favors that grew into bigger deceptions. A white lie that became a conspiracy. And now Megan was complicit in something that made her skin crawl. She'd met Tyler plenty of times. Birthday dinners. Game nights. That barbecue last summer where he'd grilled for everyone and made sure she had the vegetarian options she'd requested. He was kind. Genuine. The type of man who remembered details and showed up when he said he would. He didn't deserve this. Megan picked up her phone again, scrolling through her conversation with Jasmine. The guilt had been building all evening, pressing against her chest like a weight she couldn't shake. She tried to convince herself it wasn't her business. That Jasmine was a grown woman making her own choices. That their friendship meant she should keep her mouth shut and stay loyal. But loyalty to who? To a friend who was destroying a good man? Or to the values Megan had always claimed mattered: honesty, integrity, doing the right thing even when it was hard? Her phone buzzed. For a hopeful second, she thought it might be Jasmine finally responding. But it was just a notification from Instagram. Some ad for workout equipment she'd never buy. Megan opened her contacts and scrolled to Tyler's name. They'd exchanged numbers years ago, back when they were all just friends hanging out. He'd texted her once to coordinate a surprise party for Jasmine's birthday. Simple. Straightforward. The kind of guy who cared about making his girlfriend happy. Her thumb hovered over his name. If she made this call, there was no going back. Jasmine would never forgive her. Their friendship, 10 years of late-night talks and shared secrets and being there through breakups and makeups, would be over. Gone in a single conversation. But if she didn't make the call, Tyler would keep trusting. Keep believing. Keep building a life with someone who was lying to his face while wearing the dress he'd bought her. Megan closed her eyes and pressed the call button before she could change her mind. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. Maybe he wouldn't answer. Maybe this decision would be taken out of her hands, and she could tell herself she'd tried. "Hey, Megan." Tyler's voice was warm, unsuspecting. She could hear the television in the background, the announcer's voice calling a play. "What's up?" Her throat constricted. "Hey, Tyler. Is this a good time?" "Yeah, of course. Just watching the game. Jasmine's out with you tonight, right? Girls' night." The question hung in the air like an accusation. He believed it so completely. Trusted it without a shred of doubt. "Tyler, that's actually why I'm calling." Megan's voice cracked. She pressed her hand against her forehead, hating herself, hating Jasmine, hating this entire situation. "I need to tell you something, and it's going to hurt. But you deserve to know the truth." The background noise on his end stopped. He'd muted the television. "What are you talking about?" "Jasmine's not here. She's not with me. She hasn't been with me all night." Silence. The kind of silence that stretches and distorts until it feels like its own entity. Then quietly, almost too quietly, "What?" "She came by earlier today. Asked to take a picture on my couch to send to you. She said it was just a cover for a work thing. But Tyler, I don't think that's true. I think there's someone else." Megan heard him exhale, a long, shaky breath that told her everything about how this information was landing. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Flatter. Colder. "How long have you known?" "I suspected for a few weeks. But today was the first time she asked me to help her lie to you. I shouldn't have let her take that picture. I should have said something sooner. I'm so sorry, Tyler. I'm so sorry." Another beat of silence. Then, "Where is she?" "I don't know. She won't answer my calls. But earlier, she mentioned something about meeting someone downtown. A club, maybe? I didn't catch the name." She heard movement on his end. Footsteps. Keys jingling. "What club?" "I think she said Apex. I'm not sure." "Tyler, what are you going to do?" But he'd already hung up. Megan sat in the silence of her apartment, staring at the couch where Jasmine had posed, where the lie had been manufactured with such casual ease. Her phone felt heavy in her hand, like it was made of something denser than metal and glass. She'd just ended a friendship. She knew that with absolute certainty. But as she replayed the conversation, heard Tyler's voice crack when he asked how long she'd known, she realized something else. She'd done the right thing. Sometimes the right thing costs you everything. And sometimes, that's still the only choice you can live with. The music pulsed through every nerve in my body, drowning out thought, drowning out consequence. Kevin's hands were on my waist, firm and possessive, moving me in rhythm with the bass that shook the platform beneath us. The lights painted us in shades of violet and gold, transforming everything into something dreamlike, unreal. I was laughing at something Kevin had whispered, something filthy and thrilling, my head tilted back, eyes half closed, completely lost in the moment. The vodka had smoothed out every sharp edge, made everything feel liquid and effortless. This was freedom. This was living. This was everything my careful, predictable life with Tyler wasn't. Kevin pulled me closer, his lips grazing my neck, and I let him. Let the crowd of strangers witness something that should have been private. Let myself become someone I wouldn't recognize in the morning. Then I heard it. A sound that cut through the pounding bass like a blade through silk. A laugh. Deep, familiar, achingly recognizable. The kind of laugh I'd heard 1,000 times over morning coffee and late-night movies. The kind that used to make me feel safe. Tyler's laugh. My entire body went rigid. The music kept playing, bodies kept moving around us, but I'd frozen completely, my brain refusing to process what my ears had just registered. It couldn't be. Tyler was home. Tyler was on the couch with takeout watching the game. Tyler trusted me. Tyler was nowhere near this club. But my body knew before my mind accepted it. Some primal instinct that recognizes danger, that senses when you're being watched. I turned my head slowly, my heart hammering so violently I could feel it in my throat, in my temples, in my fingertips still resting on Kevin's shoulders. And there he was. Tyler stood at the main bar on the ground floor, 20 feet below our elevated VIP platform but perfectly visible through the transparent railing. He wore the same faded jeans and gray hoodie he'd had on when I kissed him goodbye and told him I was going to Megan's. His phone was in his hand, the screen glowing, probably still displaying my fake selfie from Megan's bathroom. But he wasn't looking at his phone. He was looking directly at me. Our eyes locked across the chaos of the dance floor, across the space between who I'd pretended to be and who I actually was. The music became white noise. The lights became peripheral. Everything narrowed to that single point of connection, his eyes on mine, seeing everything, understanding everything. I expected anger. Expected him to storm through the crowd, to shout, to make a scene that would shatter the glossy surface of this perfect night. But Tyler didn't look angry. He looked destroyed. His expression was perfectly still, almost calm, but I could see it in his eyes, the moment of comprehension, of watching something he believed in completely reveal itself as a lie. It was the look of someone watching a building they'd built with their own hands burn to the ground. My blood turned to ice in my veins. My hands, still on Kevin's shoulders, began to tremble. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Couldn't do anything except stand there under the kaleidoscopic lights while my entire life collapsed around me. Jazz? Baby, you good? Kevin's voice sounded distant, muffled, like he was speaking from underwater. I couldn't answer. Couldn't look away from Tyler. Couldn't process the fact that he was here, that he knew, that this moment I'd been carelessly dancing toward for 3 months had finally arrived. Tyler didn't say anything. Didn't lift his phone to take a picture. didn't gesture or mouth words across the distance. He just stood there, this man who'd given me everything, his trust, his love, his whole heart, and watched me destroy it. Then something shifted in his expression. Not anger, not even hurt anymore. Something worse. Resignation. Acceptance. The look of someone who'd already made a decision. He slipped his phone into his pocket. Took one last look at me standing in another man's arms, wearing the dress he'd bought me, living a lie he'd never suspected. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. Tyler. The word ripped from my throat before I could stop it, barely audible over the music but desperate, raw. Kevin followed my gaze, finally understanding. Wait, is that? But I was already moving, pushing away from him, stumbling off the platform in my heels. I shoved through the VIP section, past Jace who called after me, past the security guard who tried to ask if everything was okay. I hit the spiral staircase and took the steps 2 at a time, nearly twisting my ankle, my hands gripping the railing to keep from falling. By the time I reached the main floor, Tyler was already at the entrance. I could see his gray hoodie disappearing through the doorway, swallowed by the crowd still waiting to get in. Tyler. Wait. Please. I screamed, fighting through the mass of bodies on the dance floor. People turned to stare, annoyed, but I didn't care. Nothing mattered except reaching him, explaining, somehow making him understand. But the crowd was too thick, the bodies too tightly packed. By the time I pushed through to the entrance, past the bouncer who'd waved us in so easily, Tyler was gone. The street outside was chaos. Cars, taxis, groups of people laughing and stumbling between clubs. I spun in a circle, searching desperately for that gray hoodie, that familiar silhouette. Then I saw him. 50 feet away, climbing into the back of an Uber. The door closed. The car pulled into traffic. I ran into the street, heels clicking on asphalt, my hand raised like I could somehow stop time, reverse this moment, undo what had been done. Tyler. But the car was already gone, disappearing into the neon river of Las Vegas traffic. I stood there in the middle of the street, breathing hard, my gold dress shimmering under the streetlights, suddenly aware of how cold the night air was against my skin. Behind me, the bass from Apex pounded on, indifferent to the fact that my entire world had just ended. Kevin was probably still upstairs, confused, waiting for me to come back. But there was no going back. Not to the VIP section. Not to the lie. Not to the version of myself who'd thought she could have everything without paying the price. Tyler had seen me. And in seeing me, he'd seen the truth. The kind of truth that doesn't need words or explanations because it's written in guilty eyes and frozen expressions and the space between two bodies that shouldn't be touching. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called him. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. He'd already blocked my calls. My next call was to Omari, Tyler's brother. He answered on the third ring. Jasmine? It's almost midnight, what? Is Tyler with you? Please, I need to talk to him. I need to explain. The pause that followed told me everything. When Omari spoke again, his voice was ice. He's on his way to me right now. And Jasmine? Don't call this number again. The line went dead. I stood on the sidewalk outside Apex, people streaming past me into the club, into their own nights of bad decisions and temporary thrills. My phone felt like lead in my hand. The fake selfie I'd sent Tyler from Megan's bathroom was still in our message thread, a monument to how far I'd fallen. Everyone knew. Tyler knew. Omari knew. Which meant Megan had told him. Which meant everyone in our friend group would know by tomorrow. I looked down at my gold dress, at the red lipstick probably smeared now, at the version of myself I'd created for Kevin. And I realized with horrible clarity that this woman, this lying, selfish, reckless woman, was who I'd actually been all along. Tyler had just been the last one to see it. I don't remember the Uber ride home. Don't remember giving the driver the address or staring out the window as the strip blurred past in streaks of neon and regret. My mind was stuck in that moment. Tyler's face across the club, the devastation in his eyes, the way he'd turned and walked away like I was already a memory. My phone sat in my lap, screen dark, mocking me with its silence. I tried calling Tyler 6 more times after Omari hung up on me. Each call went straight to voicemail, that generic automated voice telling me the person I was trying to reach was unavailable. He'd blocked me. Actually blocked me. Tyler, who'd never raised his voice at me in 2 years, who'd patiently waited through every mood swing and bad day, had erased me from his phone like I'd never existed. Kevin had texted 3 times. The messages sat unread in my notifications. I couldn't think about him right now, couldn't process the fact that I'd left him standing in the VIP section without explanation. That part of my life, the secret meetings, the stolen moments, the thrill of being wanted, felt like it belonged to someone else entirely. Like I'd been watching myself from outside my body for 3 months and only now snapped back into reality. The apartment complex appeared through the window, and my stomach dropped. Tyler's car was in his usual spot. He'd beaten me home. I paid the driver with shaking hands and stepped out into the parking lot. The desert air was cooler now, past midnight, and I wrapped my arms around myself as I walked toward our unit. Our unit. The place we'd moved into together a year ago, where we'd painted the bedroom that soft gray color he'd picked out, where we'd argued about furniture placement and laughed about how neither of us could cook. The lights were on inside. I could see them through the blinds we'd hung together on a Sunday afternoon, Tyler holding the ladder while I measured and marked the wall. I used my key, my hand trembling so badly it took 3 tries to get it in the lock. The door swung open, and I stepped into a scene that made my chest cavity collapse. Tyler was packing. Not frantically, not emotionally, but with the calm, methodical precision he brought to everything he did. His duffel bag sat open on the coffee table, already half filled with clothes folded into neat squares. His toiletries were lined up beside it, deodorant, cologne, the electric razor I'd bought him for Christmas. He was in the bedroom now, moving back and forth between the closet and the bag, each trip adding another piece of his life to the pile. Omari sat on the arm of the couch, arms crossed, face carved from stone. He looked at me the way you'd look at a stranger who'd wronged your family. No recognition. No warmth. Just cold assessment and judgment. Tyler. My voice came out broken, desperate. Please. Let me explain. He didn't stop packing. Didn't even look at me. Just folded another shirt, placed it in the bag with that infuriating calm. There's nothing to explain, he said quietly. I saw everything I needed to see. I moved closer, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor we'd chosen together. It's not what you think. Kevin, he's just. Don't. Tyler's voice cut through the air like a knife. He finally looked at me, and I wished he hadn't. His eyes were red-rimmed but dry, like he'd already cried all the tears he was going to waste on me. Don't insult me by trying to explain away what I saw with my own eyes. Omari shifted on the couch. Maybe you should go to another room while he finishes packing, Jasmine. This is my apartment too, I shot back, but the words sounded hollow even to me. Actually, Tyler said, moving to the desk and pulling out a folder, I already called the landlord. You can have it. I'm taking my name off the lease. He said he'd email the paperwork tomorrow. The casualness of it gutted me. He'd thought this through. Made calls. arranged his exit strategy while I was still standing on that street corner in denial. "You don't have to leave," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "We can talk about this. We can work through it." Tyler zipped his duffel bag closed with a finality that echoed through the room. "Megan called me hours ago. Told me everything. About the pictures you staged at her place. About how you've been lying for months. She felt guilty being part of it. Guilty enough to break your trust to save mine." So that's how he'd known. Megan, my best friend, had chosen him over me. And I couldn't even be angry about it because she'd done the right thing. She'd done what I should have done months ago. "I didn't go to that club to catch you," Tyler continued, slinging the bag over his shoulder. "I went to see if you'd tell me the truth when you saw me. If you'd come clean, show even a shred of remorse or honesty." He paused at the door, looking at me one final time. "But you didn't. You just looked terrified that you got caught. That's what hurts the most, Jazz. Not the guy. Not even the cheating. It's that you would have kept lying to my face even after looking me in the eye." "Tyler, please." "I loved you," he said, "and the past tense destroyed me. I would have done anything for you. Built any life you wanted. But I can't build it on lies. And I won't be with someone who thinks so little of me that they believe I'd never find out." Omari stood, moving to stand beside his brother. Solidarity. Family. The things I'd just lost. "Where will you go?" I asked, knowing it didn't matter, knowing I had no right to know. "I'll be at Omari's tonight. Then I'm getting my own place. You'll get your stuff back from the lease by the end of the week." They walked toward the door, Tyler's footsteps sure and steady even as mine remained frozen. He paused at the threshold, his hand on the doorframe. "For what it's worth," he said without turning around, "I hope he was worth it." Then they were gone. The door clicked shut with a soft finality that was somehow worse than if he'd slammed it. I stood in the middle of our living room, my living room now, surrounded by the gaps where his things used to be. The empty space on the bookshelf where his game controllers had sat. The bare spot on the wall where his framed jersey had hung. The absence of his keys on the hook by the door. I walked to the bedroom and saw more spaces. Half the closet empty. His side of the dresser cleared out. The weighted blanket he liked gone from the foot of the bed. He'd erased himself from my life in under an hour. Efficiently. Completely. Like I'd been a problem to solve rather than a person to mourn. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing the gold dress, still wearing the red lipstick, and finally let myself see the truth I'd been running from for 3 months. I'd destroyed the best thing in my life for someone who'd never asked me to. Tyler hadn't been boring or neglectful or inadequate. He'd been steady, reliable and real. Everything Kevin wasn't. And I'd thrown it away for a feeling. For excitement. For the temporary high of being wanted by someone dangerous. My phone buzzed. Kevin's name lit up the screen. "Where did you go? You okay?" I turned the phone off without responding. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside. I was completely, utterly alone. And I had no one to blame but myself. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in silence. Tyler didn't text. Not even a call. He didn't show up at the apartment demanding answers or closure or any of the dramatic confrontations I'd seen in movies. He simply disappeared from my life with the same quiet efficiency he'd brought to packing his belongings. The lease paperwork arrived via email 3 days later. His name removed. His half of the rent now my full responsibility. The landlord had CC'd him on the message, but Tyler's email address was already one I didn't recognize. He'd changed it. Changed everything. I tried texting him once. Just once. The message turned green instead of blue. Not delivered. He'd blocked my number. I checked Instagram, Facebook, every social media platform we'd shared. Blocked. 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 It was like Tyler Remington had never existed in my digital world, and I'd been erased from his. Megan stopped responding to my messages after the first week. I'd sent her paragraphs, angry ones, pleading ones, ones that tried to explain why I'd done what I'd done. She read them all. Never replied. Our 10-year friendship ended not with a fight, but with read receipts and silence. Kevin texted for a few days, confused about what had happened at the club, asking if I was okay, suggesting we meet up. I finally responded 2 weeks later with a single message, "We're done. Please don't contact me again." He respected that, at least. Or maybe he just moved on to the next woman who needed to feel seen. The apartment felt enormous without Tyler's presence. I'd never noticed how much space one person could occupy until all that space was empty. I couldn't bring myself to fill the gaps. His side of the closet remained bare. The empty hook where his keys used to hang stayed empty. Even the coffee maker sat unused because it was the one he'd bought, the one he'd used every morning while I slept in. Work became autopilot. My boss noticed the change, asked if everything was okay. I smiled and said I was fine, then went back to scheduling posts for a hotel chain that promised romantic getaways for couples. The irony wasn't lost on me. 6 weeks after that night, I found myself driving back to Apex. I don't know what I was looking for. Closure, maybe. Understanding. Some way to make sense of what I'd destroyed. The club looked different without Kevin guiding me past the velvet ropes. The bouncer didn't recognize me. I waited in line with everyone else, paid the cover charge, entered the chaos alone. I made my way to the main bar, the exact spot where Tyler had stood, where he'd held his phone displaying my lies, where he'd looked up and seen the truth painted in neon and gilt. From this vantage point, I could see the VIP section where I'd been dancing. The platform where Kevin's hands had been on my waist was clearly visible. I could see everything Tyler had seen. It was then I understood. He hadn't just caught me cheating. He'd watched me become someone unrecognizable. Someone who laughed and danced and lived freely while he stood alone in a crowd, holding proof of my betrayal, waiting to see if I'd choose honesty over self-preservation. I'd chosen wrong. The bartender asked what I wanted. I ordered vodka, the same thing Kevin and I had drunk that night. It tasted like regret. I caught my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. Same face. Same eyes. But something fundamental had changed. I wasn't the woman who'd applied red lipstick and convinced herself that excitement justified betrayal. I was the woman who'd learned that consequences don't care about your justifications. Tyler had given me everything: trust, stability, genuine love, and I'd traded it for temporary validation from someone who'd never asked me to sacrifice anything. Kevin hadn't promised me forever. He hadn't even promised me tomorrow. But Tyler had. And I destroyed that promise for nothing. I finished my drink and left. Drove home to an apartment that was legally mine but had never felt emptier. The gold dress still hung in my closet. I couldn't bring myself to wear it or throw it away. It existed in limbo, like me, stuck between who I'd been and who I had to figure out how to become. Some mistakes you can apologize for. Some you can fix with time and effort and changed behavior. But some mistakes are permanent. Some doors, once closed, don't reopen. Some people, once hurt, don't come back. Tyler wasn't coming back. I knew that now. And the worst part wasn't losing him. It was realizing I'd lost him for nothing. For a feeling that evaporated the moment I got caught. for excitement that couldn't survive the light of day. I'd stood in front of that bathroom mirror weeks ago and lied to the reflection staring back at me. Told myself it was harmless. Told myself I deserved this. Told myself I could have everything without paying the price. Now, standing in my empty apartment, I saw the truth that mirror had been trying to show me all along. Some lies you tell out loud. Others you whisper to yourself until you believe them. Both kinds will destroy you. But only one kind destroys everyone around you too. I'd learned the difference. I just wish I'd learned it before it cost me everything. If you believe trust is sacred and liars deserve to face the consequences of their actions, hit that subscribe button. Only people like Jasmine, who justify betrayal and destroy good people for temporary thrills, would let this behavior slide. Don't be like her. Like this video if you stand for loyalty and honesty in relationships. And if you believe people who cheat deserve to lose everything they took for granted, comment actions have consequences. Don't side with people who lie to the ones who love the most.